guys, it's Robin, RsIslandCrafts. Welcome to my craft room. I'm getting really close to finishing up my floral heart embroidery pattern from CutesyCrafts.com. Since last week, I've gotten a lot of progress done. I actually did this all on Saturday. So the only thing we have left is we have this bit of a flower here, and that's going to be done in the satin stitch with some knots in the center. Today we're going to do the fishbone stitch right here that goes for that leaf. And this is only a partial leaf, but as you can see, I was practicing the fishbone stitch here. I did an open fishbone stitch over here on this leaf, but today when we work on this one, we're going to do more of the closed stitch like that. It's similar but different, but since this was a half a leaf, I kind of had to fudge things around a little bit and get it to work. I haven't done the fishbone stitch too often, so I'm still working on getting it to look nice and smooth and making everything even. But it's just one of those things when you're doing embroidery stitches, you've got to practice it. This is why I consider this more like a sampler, because there's just so many different stitches on here that we can learn. And there's plenty of times that we're going to practice our stitch. Like here's our satin stitch, and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And then again some more and some more and some more and some more. Now this flower here is going to look very similar to this one. It's the same thing with a donut shape with a hole in the center. I chose to go ahead with a burnt orange here and kind of a brown in the center. So you can see how that looks. I also did this flower here with all the millions and trillions of knots in it. I've shown you guys the French knots already. I still need to show you the colonial knots, and that's what I did with this one. So all my knots are nice and secure. That's what I like about the colonial knot, that it stays nice and secure in there and it doesn't wobble. I've even added all the little knots around here, and once again I used all colonial knots, so those are all nice and secure and they're not going to wobble. They're staying in there nice and tight. We have one more flower over here, so when I go ahead and I show you the colonial knots, we'll do that there and fill that in. So today, let's go ahead and get started on this fishbone. I'm going to go ahead and grab some green thread and we can begin. I've decided to go ahead and use the DMC 701. I wanted a darker green to go up against this light green. Now the designer says that we should use 6 strands to go ahead and work on our fishbone stitch. A lot of the times, even though she said 6, I went with like 3 on these different satin areas. I know for me to do the satin stitch, my floss will lay a little bit better if I just stick with the 3 strands instead of 6. I want to make sure it's a bigger leaf here and we're going to be covering a lot of ground. Make sure you can see it. So I'm going to go ahead with the full 6. Plus it'll give this one a little bit more poof and puff to it. And that way I'm getting all the different dimensions on this piece. Now I've already anchored my floss to the back. So I'm going to come up here at the tip of my leaf. Now we know we're doing the fishbone because it has this divided line that goes down to the center. If it was a satin stitch, you'll see in a lot of your different leaves that it's just this one little teardrop outline. And we need this line. You can imagine it if you didn't have it in there, but a lot of times it's just easier to have it drawn in. Because our first stitch, I'm not sure exactly how far you're supposed to go down, whether it's a third or a half. But I've been kind of going somewhere between about a third and a halfway down my leaf, and I'm going to go straight in onto that center line. Now I'm going to alternate between the left side and the right side. I'm going to come up near my first one. And now when I put my stitch down, I'm going to cross over this center line, and I'm going to go a little bit down and just go in this way. And then when I do the right side, I'm going to go on the right hand side just a little bit so we don't have any space. If we were doing the opened one, then I would leave a little bit space in between all of my stitches, but I want this one to fill in the leaf nicely. And I'm going to put it in on the left side directly across from the first stitch when I put it on the left. And we're just going to keep alternating back and forth like that. So up at the left, I have a knot in the back. I didn't treat my floss at all this time, and for some reason this specific one is giving me some grief already. Okay, I've cleared up my mess. In other words, I cut my string, cut the knot out, redid all the stitches, and started over. So when we come up on the left, we're going to go down a little bit across from this line here, and we're going to cross over the center line and put it on the right hand side. And we're just going to keep working our way down the project like that. I think I missed one of my right hand ones, so I'm just going to add one in, because I think I have 3 on the left and 2 on the right. Where I have not found the right directions that work for me to figure out how far down I need to put this stitch and how far out. I mean, do I need to come way down like this maybe? Does it change as you're stitching? The farther you get down, the farther you put your stitch. Do we have any of my people on here? Are you guys all embroidery experts? Does anyone can give me a helpful hint on this stitch? As you can see, it's quite chunky with the 6. It's going to give me a nice raised leaf effect though. It's going to give it a poofy leaf right here, which will be nice. This is another one of those stitches that you just keep going and going and going. You're going to add a lot of floss to one little spot to build it up. When I was really into doing a lot of the embroidery a few years ago, I never saw this stitch. I'm sure it's been around for generations, but it's a lot of the designers now are bringing all these new to us stitches out, which is really nice because it's giving us a lot of different things to work with. Okay, you see how it started out pretty ugly, but as we got going, it's adding a nice little, it's more like a feather to me, I think. I guess it's one of those things where you just gotta wait until you get moving down to actually see how nice it looks. So it's a very, very nice stitch. I really do like it. So that's why I want to keep practicing it in order to get it to look nice. Yeah, I'm really actually pleased with the way this is looking right now compared to what it was before. Now I'm getting close to the end to where this flower down here is going to be. So I'll probably have to start stacking my, oh, come on. Start stacking the stitches down here in the bottom of it, because I don't want to put them inside of this flower. I've also seen this done where I've seen them do all the one stitches on one side in a light color and then all the stitches on the other side in a dark color, and instead of switching back and forth left right, you would just do all your left and then all your right. Okay, that's about as far as I can go towards that flower. So I'll have to start stacking them in there. This would also be really good in the variegated flosses. You get some nice look. It's funny, it's a variegated floss will actually give it a little bit look of texture as it's changing, even though it's still the same thing. So I am just going to, I think I'm just going to do this, and I'm going to work more of a satin stitch along this edge now because I can't cross over that center bar anymore. So I'm just going to go ahead and work along this edge, and then I'll go work on the other side. Oh yeah, I like it. Come over to this side, stay out of that leaf. And then I'll just do the same thing. Let me get one more stitch in, and I'll fill this in with a little satin stitch. Remember, when you finish this project, unless we're all sitting on a group page somewhere, we're all showing the same exact project, hey, we all did this together, let's see how everyone's looks, you're not going to notice, if you hang this on your wall and someone comes over, they're going to see how beautiful it is. They're not going to say, oh, you went a little bit too far over this one, and this one's supposed to have 4 petals and you only did 3. It's creative license. You can go ahead and change the pattern up a little bit. I know some designers aren't always happy if you rearrange their design. But I think once you get the pattern, if you want to change things, like you're not going to do the exact same colors always that the designer does. If you fell in love with the way theirs looks, you might want to do that. But you could still change up a few things. So I think you can play around with it just a little bit. So there you go. That is the fishbone. It is on a leaf. I'm not sure what else you could use it for, but like I said, I'm new to this stitch, and this came out much, much better than I thought it would. So I think we have enough time. Let's make this a really long video, and let's go ahead and work on this flower too. Now we're going to go ahead and work on the satin stitch this one, on this flower. We're going to do the outer part of the main donut here, and we're going to leave this center empty, and then we're going to fill it with the French knots. I'm going to do it like this one over here. Now this one I went with the 3 strands of embroidery floss. This is a larger flower, and I want you to see the difference between the 3 and the 6. So I'm going to, well, the 3 and the 6. So I'm going to go ahead and use 6 strands here. I'm going to use this peacocky blue color. There is no numbers on it. It was something that was sent to me, so I have no idea what it is. And for me making it, I just chose, I like this blue. I thought it would brighten up this area a little bit. And the number is not that important to me, but unfortunately I can't tell you which number it is, so you guys can use it also. Now the way I tackled these flowers is I have my thread knotted off in the back, is I went ahead and I sectioned it off. Because when we do it, when we stitch it, we're going to be stitching this way. We could stitch like this, but I kind of like the way, when you stitch it like this, it makes it actually look like a circle and a flower. But it's really easy to kind of get off. So what I do is I stay on the outside of each line and I just section off my flower. Nothing in particular, no grand size of anything. I just kind of move over a little bit and then I bring it out to the outside. So I don't want to go this way. I kind of want to stick with still going out straight. When you have a lot of floss in one area, sometimes it takes a little bit of a tug. They have these little pinchy, grippy things that you can put on your fingers like a thimble, but allows you to hold it, and it's some type of the rubber that you can just helps hold the needle and pull it out. If you wanted to, you can go ahead and put a line here and a line here and then half it and then quarter those sections so that you know you have it all even, if that helps you out a little bit. I'm just going to go wild and crazy. And as I'm stitching it, if I find that an area is too big, I can still section it off a little bit more as I'm going, just to help myself out a little bit. This floss really likes to get tangled. I did not have any tangles at all yesterday working on all of these different spots that I did. And as I've mentioned before, you can use the beeswax and other products to treat your floss so that it doesn't tangle as much. But I don't like to treat it and then not, if I don't use all of it, when I put it back in my container, I don't want it to have the beeswax on it. I don't think that it's going to cause any issues, but it's just, I don't know, it's just one of those things, that my little quirks that I just don't like to do. Alright, so I have it all sectioned off, and then just like when we're doing any of the satin stitches anywhere, I come up in the center. I know it looks like I'm sectioning it off again, and basically that's what I'm doing. And then I just fill in this area. You're going to be laying down a lot of floss, of course, because that's a large area to be filling in. And sometimes, if you see, it's a bit wider here than it is here, so sometimes I have to play a little game. I'm going to fill the center in with the French knots, so that's going to be okay. So if I go a little bit into the center here and it's a little ragged, it'll be all right. And like, I don't mind that I go past the line just a little bit all the way around, because that gives that flower that, because they have that frayed look to the edge of their leaves. So I can just come in here. And our plan is to just basically fill in this ring. So since it's wider on the outside than the inside, it tends to become easier to come up on the outside. And then sometimes you can slide your needle in and find a spot to put it, or you can just go over what's already there. But this is why I like to do 3, because the 3 tend to lay nicer. They get along better with each other and lay a little bit flatter. This is a long-term project. You're not going to get it done in an hour. It's going to take some time. So I don't mind that each individual piece might take longer because I'm using 3 strands instead of 6. So I have a little bit of a white showing through here. Cover that. And that's all. I'm just going to keep going all the way around and fill in all this ring. So I'm going to go ahead and pause you here, and then when I get further around, I'll bring you back. Now I've gotten to this last section here, and it's quite wide compared to the rest of them. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to come up through the center and split it. Then I'm once again going to come through the center on this section and split it. Then I can fill in over here. Fill in here. And over here. So I just split it up so I can get it in there nice. Fill in any spots so the white doesn't show. You go back around anywhere you see any white spaces, you can go ahead and fill those in with a stitch. Or you can just leave it a little bit open and airy and say that's just how your flower is. I'm going to put one right here to finish this off. Okay, there you go. And there's my little donut flower. See how it's kind of raised and not quite smooth, and that's perfectly fine. I do like that look. But I think I prefer how flat and smooth this flower is, because I only used the 3 strands of the embroidery floss. I was able to lay it down a little neater and fill in the spaces. And you can see I'm a little bit jagged around the edge, like I feel a natural flower would be. You know how I told you in the beginning that you can bring up the web page or print a color photo of the designer's finished project, so you can kind of guess and see where you want to use your colors compared to theirs? Well, I just happened to be looking it up when I was writing a blog post. RsIslandCrafts.blogspot.com, links down below in the description. I was looking at these, and where I thought these were leaves, they were actually flowers. So all of these along the edge here are little lazy daisy stitches. Were actually supposed to be in a different color than the green because they were flowers. But that's okay. Mine is just more of a vegetation green leafy one than flowery. So I'm going to leave it like this for this week, and we'll come back next week and we'll go ahead and put I'll show you the colonial knots, and we'll fill in this spot, and I'll show you how I fill in this flower. And I do have one little leaf over here I'll also show you next week. I don't think I showed you when I did these here. They're just straight stitches. There's nothing to it. I just want to make sure I showed you everything, and I can't remember if I showed you that. So I left one open there to show you. So then we just got our knots left to do, and we'll be all done. And then we can turn it into a finished wall hanging or a project. So thanks for hanging out with me again this week, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!